Greetings and welcome. You are live in the zone. This is the BIZ Info Zone Show. My name is Lynn Hawkins, and I'm so happy that you joined us today. You're in the zone where we do interviews with special individuals who have agreed to bring you some important information so that you can express your purpose, plan your next moves, and take your business and your life into prosperity as a savvy social entrepreneur. So today we are in the strategy category of the BIZ Info Zone shows, and fulfilling our mission and vision, I have a special guest on our special broadcast. It is the one and only Shavilla RASHEEM. She's the CEO of Be More LLC, and I'm just going to tell you a little bit about, I call her S. And she's a fabulous young lady that has done an awful lot in her life so far. And she works with purpose-driven individuals who struggle with the desire to start a nonprofit and have no idea where to start and how to make it successful. With her signature Be More system, she helps leaders make a living at making a difference. RASHEEM is fiercely committed to transformation, and being known as the Be More catalyst, her peers hold her to that regard. She believes that we're all here to put a dent in the universe and make some things happen, and she's here to help us today discover, design, and deliver that dent into the world. She's got some amazing things she's going to be sharing with us today, and I'm especially happy to introduce you to her because she hails right now from my home city of Baltimore, Maryland. Hi, S. How you doing? Welcome to the show.
Hey, V. How you doing, V Hawk?
I'm good, girlfriend. Thanks for showing up and being here with us today. I'm really happy that we've connected on a subject that is very, very dear and near to my heart, which is the nonprofit. I work with purpose-driven entrepreneurs, mainly women, who I call savvy social entrepreneurs, who really want to make a bigger difference in the world. And having a business, spinning off to build a nonprofit as part of their business mission is something that a lot of my audience aspires to do. Not only that, there are some who really are ready to start their business, and they are such social entrepreneurs that they don't know if it should be a nonprofit first or a for-profit. But I'm just really happy today that we're going to be talking about your 7 steps to nonprofit success. So welcome again to the show. Why don't you just start us off by telling us a little bit about your journey, how you came to this place in your life where you're addressing how people can really start powerful nonprofit organizations.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very delighted to be here to be speaking to your audience on a topic that I hold so near and dear to my heart. I will say my nonprofit journey actually began when I was around 5 years old. And the reason that I say that is I grew up, so my mother was 15 years old when she gave birth to me, and my father was a heroin addict. And so that left me to be raised by a grandmother who had no more than a 3rd grade education. But what she lacked in education, I saw in leadership, I saw in compassion, I saw in love, and I saw in service. And she was actually my first example of what nonprofit leadership looked like. Now, she didn't have a 501c3 status. She didn't have an official organization, but she had the key components of how to lead from within, serve with compassion and love, and lift people from where they were. So I would say she was my first example. Later on in life, when I was about 20, I saw there were some things going on in our neighborhood with some of the youth. So I decided that what I would do is I would write a grant. And I didn't know a whole lot about the grant writing process, but I saw that this was an opportunity. They, gave me a set amount. I applied for the maximum amount, and I, at 20 years old, got the grant. And I was able to start an after-school program, which then led into being a summer program. And that whole component of love, that whole component of service, that whole component of helping was something that gave me fulfillment, that gave me purpose in life. I went on to get my education I got my bachelor's in social science, then I got my master's in nonprofit management, just so that I can have a toolkit to play with, to put some structure behind what I was already so passionate about. Sometimes our nonprofit leaders or people who have a desire to serve in deeper and more meaningful ways, they are extremely passionate and extremely ready to really serve and have a huge impact. But they don't necessarily have the business mindset, the organizational mindset, and that structure to put the nonprofit into a framework that is going to make it be successful. So I got a master's in nonprofit management, then went on to work for the federal government, where I managed federally funded awards for the U.S. Department of State. Primarily the regions that I worked in was the Middle East and North Africa. And I got to see firsthand how government and nonprofits work together to tackle some of these really big issues. Then I said, I really want to do this work that I'm doing internationally for the federal government, for all these other countries. I really want to do it domestically. And I really want to be able to take some of these tools, some of these practices, some of this information that I have, and shape it in the way that people right in my city, right in my state, right in my country can benefit from it. So that's when I went ahead and I founded Be More LLC for new and emerging nonprofits. And another reason I started is because I saw that nonprofits were having their grand opening and grand closing in the same year. And it wasn't because their vision wasn't big enough. It wasn't because they didn't care enough. It wasn't because they didn't love enough. It was because they didn't have the systems, the structure, the key competencies that they needed to make their organization successful. So they had the heart, and the heart is not something that could be taught. What can be taught is systems, structure, organization, what's going to make you successful, how to better market, how to better, team build. These sort of things can be taught. So I founded Be More LLC to add that component so that we could have more successful nonprofits, because they are the heart of our country. And that's a little bit about me.
Well, I am so happy to hear that, because my journey was very similar. My mom started a nonprofit when I was about 17, and I began by helping her to write and apply for grants. And that was in Baltimore, and part of that program is still going on now. It started back in the day when Meals on Wheels first got started, and that was many years ago. But to have been able to merge with local, state, and federal organizations who wanted to do something similar was really part of how I got started as well. So I was really glad to see that. But coming out of your community need and seeing that at such a young age you were able to do so much to help so many, I can, and the fact that I know that systems and processes are what makes business in general easy. Spend a little bit of time and tell us your views on how for-profit and nonprofit business is alike, and then give us a little bit about what the differences are, so that those of us out there who are in fact for-profit businesses will kind of see what maybe needs to be given a little focus in order to think nonprofit.
Absolutely. So the way that I want to address that is I want to lay out a dangerous rumor about nonprofits that's going around. And I call this rumor dangerous because it ends up sabotaging the the development and the sustainability of a nonprofit. And that dangerous rumor is that nonprofits cannot make a profit. And I believe that we come to that conclusion simply because of the name nonprofit. It's really a misnomer in that when you say nonprofit, you're actually saying no financial benefit. But the term nonprofit is to be connected actually with the IRS term that connects to the 501c3. And that just means that whatever profit you make has to go back into the organization. Not only can you make a profit, it is one of your utmost primary functions of an organization. Number one, of course, is the mission. The mission always comes first. And secondly is the money. You need the money because you won't be able to see that mission through. When you start a nonprofit, you do not and should not feel as though you have to take a vow of poverty, because it is not it is not that you have to take a vow of poverty. It's not that it's not for profit. You can and should absolutely make a profit. So I just want to put that out there first. One of the primary differences in a nonprofit and a for-profit is who you serve, how you serve them, and your tax-exempt status. And I want to put special emphasis on the tax-exempt status. The tax-exempt status is the defining factor. Like legally, in terms of documentation, with nonprofits, you're also going to have a lot more red tape, so to speak, because you're dealing with other people's money, and nonprofits are a public trust. So when you're dealing with a public trust, I'm sorry, one moment. Okay, no worries, someone else is going to get that. So when you're dealing with a public trust, that means that you don't have stockholders as you do in a business. You have stakeholders, and the stakeholders are that community. So you have a different people that you're marketing to. If you have a business, and let's say your business is to sell shoes, when you market, you are marketing to the end user, to the consumer, because you want them, of course, to buy your fancy shoes. When you are a nonprofit, you are marketing primarily to donors. Now, there's three phases of, like, if you're doing nonprofit marketing. It's not just with a focus of money. You are there to raise awareness, to inform, and you are there to raise funds. Those are the reasons that you market. I know a lot of times I get clients that come to me and they have the misnomer of, I am a nonprofit, so I'm not supposed to make profit, which is completely bogus. And the second part is, I'm not a business, so I shouldn't be marketing. Absolutely false. Your visibility is your viability as a nonprofit organization. So if you are quiet, who knows that you're there? The people that you're there to serve don't know that you're there. The people who want to donate, support, and give money does not know that you're there. So those are some ways in which they're similar. You still have to market. You still need to have an organizational structure, whatever that capacity is. The primary difference is that tax exempt status and what you do with the profits. Now, one key question, there's a questionnaire actually that I have clients fill out to decide whether or not they're going to do for-profit or nonprofit. But one key question is, who are you going to serve, and can they pay you? Basically, who are you going to serve, can they pay you, and are they willing to pay you? So if I have a youth program for underprivileged youth, and they are my target, I am serving them, well, can they pay me? Probably not. Are they willing to pay me? If they don't see that there's a value in it, then they won't. And that's when you know that you have an organization where you are going to be serving a population, and then you may have another population of people in support of that. So then you think, who cares about what my issue is? Who cares about if I'm doing underprivileged youth? Who cares about that? Who are my stakeholders? My stakeholders are schools, my stakeholders are parents, my stakeholders are youth detention camps, my stakeholders are guidance counselors, colleges possibly, local politicians who care about education in their community. So you look at those particular factors. It's a list of factors, but that's a good tidbit to hold on to if you're thinking of whether or not you want to start a nonprofit. the people who you're targeting. Can they pay? Are they willing to pay? Are the primary things. So I could go on for days.
You sound like me. I could too. And those are some very key points. And those are the things that, especially if you're coming out of a for-profit business, seeing that there's a community that you can serve that falls into one of these categories of, yes, I know who it is I want to serve. Can they pay me? No, they can't pay me. Are they willing to pay me? They probably would be willing if they could, unless they are those that don't see the value in it. And most of that population is youth. There are a lot of things that our entrepreneurs really are in the space of doing and want to do for their constituency. And, you know, I do a lot of talking around the language of nonprofit, the language of donors, the language of grants. And one of the things that is also a difference in the for-profit and nonprofit world is that languaging. One of the things that is the difference is for the for-profit business, we talk about clients and customers, and you know, the people that we serve are clients and customers. Why? Because they typically will be paying us. In the nonprofit arena, you're talking about constituents, you're talking about participants in your programs, you're talking about the people that you serve that typically cannot pay you, and that's what puts them in that category. And so when we're talking about the entrepreneur that has a piece of their work that they would love to present and provide to this group of constituents and participants that can't afford to pay them, but that are very willing to go through this process. Talk to me about what you see as an entry point for them to move into satisfying this need, addressing this need.
Absolutely. So one of the things that I would say, if you are an entrepreneur who wants to transition or wants to have an arm of your service that you provide be nonprofit, or if you don't have either and you're just thinking about starting a nonprofit and you just kind of want to get your feet wet a bit, you do have options. One of the things that I like to tell people to do is have a pilot program. This doesn't require you to establish a 501c3 or anything, but get together your general idea of what it is you want, create a good outline, something that you can easily and effortlessly articulate to another person who you want to get involved. Once you have that outline, take that to another person or another business or organization who is already serving that population. For example, going along with my youth development program, if I was thinking, sold shoes, and I was thinking, you know, I really thinking about having a program for youth, even though I sell shoes, I would have that client draw up an outline of exactly what it would look like, and I want them to have 3 primary things, and I tell all the clients to do this with their mission statement, their money-making mission statement. And the formula to a money-making mission statement is that it is clear, it is concise, and it is compelling. So it's all great to have a fantastic idea in your head, but you want it to be clear so when you articulate it to another organization, they understand, they get it, and they can see themselves in connection with that. You want it to be concise because you don't want it to look like you're trying to be all things to all people, especially if you already have another venue going on. They're just probably going to think that you're a serial entrepreneur or that this is just a passing habit or hobby that you won't stick with. And you want it to be compelling because you want it to talk to them. So in that sheet of paper where you have that money-making mission statement, you share it with a bigger organization who's doing what you want to do on a larger scale. You introduce it as a program that they can have under their organization. Now, this does a number of things for you. 1, they already have a structure and system. 2, this gives you experience on the hand, access and opportunity to do your own case study of what this would look like and how it would work. And 3, you establish yourself in the community before you even enter into that community. So I strongly suggest, I've had clients who have gone to schools and have done something piecemeal for a while, like 2 to 3 weeks out of the school. They'll institute their program into that school to see how that works. Another thing is you can get a fiscal sponsor. So how fiscal sponsorship works is basically you would go to another nonprofit or another organization that has a 501c3 status, and you, without yourself having a 501c3 status, you can actually apply for awards and grants through using their 501c3 status. And there's usually a fee associated with them just funneling, because that's basically what it is, them funneling the money to you. I wouldn't go with a fiscal sponsor that charged me any more than 10% of whatever I was getting, because all they're really doing is funneling the money and processing it. So in that way, you can actually have a lot of the benefits of having the 501c3 status without going through, having all the extra paperwork. You're also feeding into another organization with more than likely a similar mission. So you can have a pilot program with one. You could also have a fiscal sponsorship. I've had clients who have had an idea. One client comes to mind in particular. She does things around battered women, and she actually she's more of like a makeup guru person in her entrepreneurial background, but she wanted to focus on battered women, making them feel beautiful, making them feel loved, and that sort of thing. So she did actually both of these. One of the things she did is she went to battered women's shelters, and she had a pamper day where she did, and she got to see, oh, this is how it works. This is how it's set up. This is the process for this. And then she also did something where she went to a church. Churches are 501c3s. Universities are 501c3s. So those are some organizations where you can kind of get your feet wet, and you can see, oh, this works. Oh, this idea that I had that I thought conceptually worked, it doesn't quite work in that format, so let me tweak it here. And you get to have someone on when you present your paperwork to say, I can vouch for this person, or I can say that this program has already been running for 6 months, or it's been running for 18 months without 501c3 status, and the paperwork is just the final thing that we would need to put us over the top. So for those making that transition, that would be one of the first things that I would have them do.
I love it. I love the way that you explained going through that process and how to think about starting. Any business owner does not necessarily have to go the immediate route of nonprofit, especially if they're just getting started and they want to test the waters.
Yes.
And I highly recommend that as well, because the other thing is that there are a lot of for-profit businesses who aren't certain that this is where they want to stick and stay, even for that one program. And you brought it up, and I just want to go through this again. Donors, people who have the money that are going to fund these kinds of programs and what have you, don't want to think about the one-off. They really want to know that you're somebody who is committed to this. It's not a hobby, that you're in for the long haul. And, as you spoke about kind of writing this stuff down, your proposal, is there an advantage to stating a length of time that you're anticipating running this kind of program, and say even mentioning your expansion plan?
Absolutely. So one of the things is when you have everything written down like that, one of the things that it shows a donor, that it would show me, is that you thought this out. Because if you just come to me like, oh, I got this idea and I kind of want to do this, and that would just make me feel like you haven't thought it out all the way, and that you have no concept of what it would take. Now, when you come to me and you have SMART goals, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely, it tells me that you've put a little bit more thought into it. So even if you don't stick with the time frame that you say, if you start out with saying, you know, I think I want to do this for like 3 months, and I would absolutely start doing it smaller. And I would say 3 months is the max, actually. That I would start doing something where I'm just trying to get my feet wet and test it out. And you want to absolutely have a specific start date and a specific end date, and have little milestones in between those so that you can check your specific progress, and you can have something to report out to that organization and show how you've added value. One of the things that I feel like nonprofits and people in service industries in general, public service industries and private service industries, you know, janitorial services, maid services, people who provide service, they don't always know that they are adding value. They don't always know how to articulate and show that they are adding value. Even with one of my clients who does the makeup service, she had a hard time saying, you know, how articulating and saying how she's adding value. She's like, it's just makeup. I mean, they get to look cute. And then so you have to kind of pull this out of yourself. Okay, she looks cute, and then what? And then she feels more confident. Okay, she feels more confident, and then what? And then she goes for the job interview that she wants. And then because she's confident, she gets the job. So there is an added value. So your ability to have a specific start date, a specific end date, articulate the value that you add, because as a nonprofit, you add tremendous amount of value to our country, and to be able to list the benefits of what you are proposing and the features of what you're proposing. And those are two different things. So a benefit of, let's say, a youth development program, I'm very passionate about youth development, so it's easy for me to draw from that. So the benefit of the youth development program that I would have is, let's say if I provided tutoring and we had a service where we helped them complete job applications and we did some type of readiness. So none of those are benefits. Those are just what I do. The benefits are, at the end of the program, they are going to have completed 7 college applications. They are going to have, that's actually not even a benefit. That's more of an output. An outcome would be they get into college. An outcome would be they get employment and they're able to be productive members of society. So those are the benefits, and being able to connect to those. And then the features are, they have a resume that they could walk away with. Everyone gets back to school supplies. You know, those are being able to identify the benefits, the features, the value, the start time, the end time of the program, so that you can show them, you know, they are adding value by partnering with you, by adding you on. And being able to, it's very important to do this, to, you know, a friend of mine says, everyone is tuned into the same radio station, WWIFM. What's in it for me? So show that school, show that church, show that organization how what you're doing directly connects with their mission. So if their mission is to have 20 college-ready students, show them how your program is going to contribute to that. In 3 months, I will have done this, which could lead to this, which could lead to that, and so forth and so on. So make sure you do your due diligence of your outline, having SMART goals, connecting your mission with theirs, being able to articulate the benefits, the features, and the values. That's what I would say.
Well, thank you, because that's what I would say. And as you were going through this, the thought came to me, you know, one of the things that you had mentioned before, and the thing that I do a lot of teaching around, and that is the fact that the for-profit business and the nonprofit business are alike in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned it in that as a nonprofit business, one of your key responsibilities as the executive director and your objectives as a nonprofit organization is first to serve your community,
Mm-hmm.
serve your constituent, and serve to the highest and best degree possible. The other is to be a viable business entity. And I
Mm-hmm.
think you mentioned that a lot of people just don't understand because of the misnomer around the name nonprofit that you don't garner enough wages and income that supports you as the one that's the driver behind all of this. And I like to point out people like Google and eBay and HP and Catalyst and all of these organizations that are for-profit businesses, but they have huge, huge nonprofit arms.
Mm-hmm.
They have slews of employees in, and trust me, they aren't the mom and pop non-profit who are starving because they don't have the awareness that they cannot garner the same kind of income as a for-profit business. And how is it that you speak to, what is one of the key things that you tell some of your nonprofit organizers, people who are actually driving the mission of the nonprofit organization, around the fact that not just raising funds but generating income is a key principle of business and of the nonprofit organization? How do you drive that message home?
Mm-hmm. So one of the things that, 1 second. Okay. Okay. All right. All right. Sorry, excuse me. That was my assistant coming to tell me about a call that just got pushed back, but it's fine.
Okay. Thank you.
No. So one of the things is there's the three things that I tell people that can make or break your nonprofit. And I actually have a free training that I would like to offer everyone listening, along with another free gift that I would like to give everyone. So remind me of that later.
Okay.
But I will give you a little snippet of it right now. And that is the three things that will make or break your nonprofit. Your mission, marketing, mindset.
Oh, yeah.
Now, the marketing has a lot to do with money, so sometimes I say the four things: mission, marketing, money, and mindset. But I would like to start with the mindset. And the reason why I feel like the mindset is important is because it goes back to the mindset of, if one, you believe that you should not make a profit, or you believe that to get money is somehow evil, or you don't want to seem like you're asking for too much, or if you don't believe that your organization is asking or adding value. Because when you don't believe that you're adding value, when you don't believe that you should make money, when you don't believe that your organization is key to your city or to your community's survival, you have a whole different demeanor when you go towards a goal or when you go towards a person and you talk about your organization and you talk about the money. When you talk to another person about money, about donation, about funding, you're giving them an opportunity to add value. You're giving them an opportunity to make an impact. You are giving them an opportunity with their dollars to have a voice in the outcome of what goes on, and not a lot of people see it that way. A lot of people see it as they're here. Wait, let me see if I can get into the camera. Okay, they're here, and I'm here, and I have to, and I have to beg, and I have to, and this organization, no one really cares. It's just a whole different energy. And what I like to tell people about money money is, and I actually got this from a book called 40 Days of Abundance, I believe it's called. Money is my acronym, write this down if you have a pen, MONY, my own natural energy yield. So, and then also if you look at the word currency is energy. And what happens with energy? What happens with currency? It needs to flow. So what you are doing when you request funds or go and get funds or advocate or market, you are being a conduit for flow. You are being a conduit from energy to exchange. And not just a transactional exchange, which means I give you this, you give me that, and that's it. But you are being a conduit for transformational change. How does transformational change differ from transactional? One, again, you give me this and I give you this. It's a transaction. I go to Burger King. If I go to Burger King, if I went to Burger King and I got, what do I like to drink? I like to drink iced coffees. So if I got one of their iced caramel coffees, I give them money. They give me an iced caramel coffee. I drink it. That is the end of that. I go to an organization. Let's say Half the Sky is one of my favorite organizations. Half the Sky support women all over the world in their development, their education, and things of that nature. I give them, let's say, $20. It's not a simple transaction of I give them $20 and they give me I don't know, tax deducted amount back. I give them $20. They take that $20. That $20 is able to go get a little girl books. That little girl has books now. Now she's able to go get an education. From that education, she's able to, raise the standards of her family, of her community, and so forth, and so forth, and so on. You are giving them opportunity to transform. And I feel like I take so much time to drive that home because I don't want you to forget the value that you add. So I spend a lot around mindset because if you don't have the mindset that what you do is transformational. And that's also why I like to work with people who are purpose-driven, people who find this to be their calling, because it doesn't take a whole lot to tell them that what you are doing is God's work, or what you are doing is your Creator's work, or what you are doing, you were put here to do. And this is true even for entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs impact their communities. They are providing jobs, they are providing resources, they are providing information. I have found businesses to have as great of some businesses to have as great of an impact as some nonprofits. You add value. So that's one piece around the mindset that I could, of course, talk on forever. And then, of course, the marketing. Like I was saying before, your visibility is your viability. No one knows you're there. If no one knows you exist, how can they donate? Okay, how do I market? What do I do? Is a question. I don't have we don't have a marketing budget. You can market like a millionaire on a zero budget. Okay, you can market like caviar and have a ramen noodles budget. And one of the things that have done that for us is social media has virtually leveled the playing field.
Yes.
You can access just as many people as, I don't know, what's the business?
Richard Branson.
There you go, Richard Branson.
Does a lot of marketing via social media.
Yes. So, and sometimes people will say, well, I'm not a social media person, or that's really a kid thing. Let me say one thing. One, baby boomers are the largest growing population of social media. Let me say that also 80% of all transactions that happen on the internet. Get plugged in.
And let me just throw this piece in too. 80% of those transactions that happen on the internet are women buyers.
Yes. So it would behoove you, as my mother would like to say, it would behoove you to tap into it. And a Facebook page doesn't cost you anything. A Twitter account doesn't cost you anything. How will, see, and one of the things too is if you are only face to face, if that's your only marketing, then you're limited in your reach.
Yes.
Just basic, you're limited. But I have a social, I have a social footprint, and with that, I have customers, I have clients in Australia, I have clients in Canada that I'm able to serve. How am I able to serve them? We could do Google Hangouts. We could do Skypes. There's online training. So I would say get with it and learn it. I don't remember who exactly said this quote, but the quote went something along the lines of the best and most consistent way of organizational sustainability is your ability to outlearn your competitor, to learn faster than your competitor.
Mm-hmm.
So learn it. I mean, and this one thing, I feel like everything goes back to mindset too. This one thing that goes back to mindset, and why I feel like it goes back to mindset so strongly is because when you do have a calling, when you do know your why, get in touch. One, I would say get in touch with your why. Make your why huge. If your why is something that could be accomplished with just you, it's not big enough.
Exactly.
Make your why huge so that by comparison, all of the hows are insignificant.
Yes.
Because what I do believe and what I know in my heart to be true for myself is that I am here to serve, that I'm put here to serve, that one of the ways that I'm supposed to serve is nonprofit development, is nonprofit organization building, is to serve servant leaders, is to serve, small businesses as well as nonprofits. And because I know that that is my why, how is insignificant. I mean, it's insignificant to the degree that it's not going to stop me. And me and my husband, we host a group called Soul on Fire. We recently started this at the church that we go to. And one of the things about Soul on Fire is it's a focus on what are you passionate about and how to get about doing the business of that, how to get about implementing that into your everyday work or your vocation or your avocation. And one of the things that came up is, okay, what are some of the things, what are the barriers to us completely living a fulfilled life, to completely being purpose-driven, to completely going down that road to reach that goal? Some of the things came up: fear, feeling like you're not enough, a little voice saying, who do you think you are? You just, you a little brown girl from Florida. Who gonna listen to you? So all of those little things that come up. So that's on that mindset piece. And another thing, and this is so big, that keeps us from reaching our goals is not because they're too big. It's because we let the how get in the way of our why.
We make it more significant than it really is.
Yes.
And, it actually is an intended stumbler because of how we were brought up. And I always take people back to the beginning. Our society evolved from being purpose-driven. Like back in the day when our country was being formed, the reason why people came to America to restart lives was to begin in purpose, with purpose, on purpose, for a purpose. Their families, their extended families, being part of the community. We used to always talk about it takes a village to raise a child. That's when the villages were participating. Now we look at neighborhoods and villages, and there are people you live next door to for years and don't even know. And that is because, when, getting back to the how, we make the how our excuse. We were
Yes.
brought up to, to really be in the mentality of get an education so that you can get a job, so that you can learn how to serve me, the corporation, and
Mm-hmm.
I'll take care of you. And how many of us learned that the corporation would lay you off, would fire you, would reorganize so that they could put you in the box that best suited them? Were they
Mm-hmm.
serving us?
Mm-hmm.
We were still in a position to serve them, but what was the real reciprocation there in the way of building lives? Well, some people will say, well, having a job was the best thing that happened to me. Stay there, be there. Not everyone is supposed to not have a job. Not everyone is supposed to be in the world doing this work of service and doing the work of service to the people who need it. I just recently saw the movie Divergent. Have you seen that yet?
Oh,
Great, great movie.
no spoiler alerts.
Okay. Well, I'll just give you one little piece, and I think you
Okay.
can practically glean this from the previews. There's classes of people. And one of the classes of people was one that was totally about service. Now, they were also the people that ran the government, because supposedly they were the ones that had the heart. They were purpose driven. They wanted to make sure that each of the factions of people were taken care of. So they were the ones that were put in a place of making sure that the playing field stayed level. Although you were required to stay in your faction, at a certain point, as kids were growing up, they got to select if they wanted to join another faction, which was part of the whole perpetrating that everyone has the ability to do what their heart's calling them to do.
Mm-hmm.
And again, going back to that service piece, when you are serving, it does come from the heart. And some of employee service is some of the greatest service that's out there. It really gets me when the employer finds their ways of taking advantage of it. And there are some in the large corporate sector, in the middle, and in the small business sector that haven't really realized, the whole heart and purpose-driven thing, although even some can put up some fronts. Really thinking about our audience and the entrepreneurs who are really looking at wanting to help make a difference in the world. That service piece is so important. And you were talking about the three things, and you talked about mindset, marketing and money, and then mission. And I think you already talked about mission. So I want to really be a little more cognizant of time. I've asked you some questions, and one of them hasn't even been, what are these 7 steps to nonprofit success? And I bet you that a lot of them you have already touched on. But I want us to stay on track so that we really can get what these 7 steps are.
I can briefly run through them.
Okay.
Yeah. So the 7 steps to starting a nonprofit and having nonprofit success. Step number 1, establish a team. Don't go it alone. This team could be your board. It could be, it definitely has. You definitely have to have a board, and then of course it may be a few key players that end up working. You can have an entrepreneurship and just be a sole proprietor. You can have an entrepreneurship and be an LLC. You absolutely, positively cannot have a nonprofit as a one-person thing. So you have to get a team first, primary. Step 1. And step 2, basically establish rules of conduct and authority. And that comes into play with bylaws. Now, the IRS does not require a copy of your bylaws in your tax-exempt application, but your state may require it. So either way, you're still going to need to have bylaws. Step 3, incorporate your organization. And that's just establishing, of course, your articles of incorporation. There's templates online for that. There's a few best practices that at some other time maybe I could take a deeper dive with you but establishing your articles of incorporation is step 3. Of course, step 4 is getting basically the social security number for your organization, the EIN. This is going to be important because you need to establish a bank account. And I want to say that establishing a bank account is like step 4.5 because you need to be prepared for the wealth that you ask for. It's like praying for rain and not going out, if you're saying you trust God, not going outside with an umbrella. If your organization is going to get funded, prepare for the wealth that you are inevitably going to receive and establish a bank account. 5, meet with your team, that board that we talked about in step 1, and establish the bylaws, finalize the articles of incorporation, get on one accord with what the organization is about, how are you going to move forward, and what are the roles, responsibilities of that board. Board, primarily their role is to govern. They are also ambassadors, and they generate revenue. And they need to know that these are their roles. I know primarily boards usually start with friends and family are your initial boards usually. But you want them to know their role, and you want them to be active in that. What did I do? Step 5, okay. Step 6, I call it make it official. Make it official is just basically filing your 1023 form. And that's the form that gives you your tax exemption status. And then step 7 is registering with your state. So those are the 7 key steps to establishing your nonprofit. And I would love to be able to, at some point, take a deeper dive and help people with that.
Well, now that you said that, this is a great segue for me to make mention of the fact that the P3 Diamond Academy of Social Entrepreneurship actually is a program that is set up to take people through it's a program that goes through a set of steps that actually walks people into not only beginning the process of nonprofits or starting their nonprofit organization as a business, but I work with again the savvy social entrepreneur that has a nonprofit business that wants to emerge into this area of providing service. Awesome. And one of the things that I would love to do is connect with you in order to bring additional information to the Diamond entrepreneurs who are part of this program to help them to not just understand it, but we're actually going to be processing 501c3 applications, and we're going to be establishing nonprofit organizations. We're going to be doing grant writing training through the academy, and we're actually going to be sharing business development throughout the program. So I'd love to invite you into that to help with some of the delivery of that information, and even connect to, co-create some programming around it with some of the work that you do. So we'll continue conversations on that, but I want to reiterate for our audience these great 7 steps to nonprofit success. Establish your team. And I have to say, after hearing you say this, that these are the 7 keys for business success. And I so love it, especially when we're thinking about the social savvy entrepreneur, because you want to be savvy in that you've got the highest and best of success tools in your toolbox. And what S has shared with us today is just that. Establish your team. Establish your rules of conduct and authority. Who's in charge of this and who's in charge of that, and when is this going to happen and when is that going to happen, in order to manage everything. Incorporate. And that is, file your S corporation documents or LLC, or however, again, you don't have to necessarily do all of that, and there's strategies around how to progress through getting that done. Get your tax ID number for your nonprofit organization. Meet with your team. Establish a system whereby you'll be meeting, right? Isn't that going to be something key with meeting with your team initially? And at that initial time, you want to make sure that your team knows we're meeting weekly or bi-weekly or monthly, or, you know, especially if it's your board of directors, because those are the people that you need input from on a continuous basis just to meet your corporate goals. And then make it official. Really kind of bring into the frame how it is that you're doing what you're doing, because like I said before, is like you've got a big vision here and a huge mission. You've got a community to serve, and what you want to do is make sure that you're official in whatever your capacity, be it sole proprietor, LLC, whatever, for profit to begin with, nonprofit, in your testing stage, your test pilot stage, or your piloting stage, whatever it is, you want to make it official so that you can move through. And then as far as filing your documentation, that's key. And then registering with the state. For your nonprofit organization or any organization, you know that as a business you want to check the fictitious business name. Make sure that the name of your business isn't going to be conflicting with anybody, because what you don't want to happen is for some business to come in and challenge you on any of the aspects of your business. And so, as thank you for bringing this to us. I know we've gone through a lot, and I'm actually glad we did. I think we were even going over in time just a little bit. But I want you to share with our audience right now, you know, having all of this information, is there any one thing in particular that you really want our audience to walk away with remembering, so that they can come back to this broadcast and listen to it again, or take with them as they're going through to continue to build their business and build their nonprofit organization?
I will say, I will quote Steve Jobs. I love this quote from him. And he says, we are all here to put a dent in the universe, or else why else be here? I love that quote because, and let me share this other quote by Mark Twain with a slight twist. Mark Twain says, the two most important days in a person's life is the day they are born and the day they discover why. Now, the only thing that I would like to add to what Mark Twain says, far be it from me to question Mark Twain, but I would like to add a third day. I would say the first day is the day you're born. The second day is the day that you discover why, and the third day is the day that you decide to do something about it.
Love it.
Yeah, and I just want to close by saying that, you know, if you decide that reason that you were born is to serve, and that service that you want to do is nonprofit development, please do check us out, BeMoreLLC.com, BeMoreLLC.com. And we also have a absolutely free telesummit, which is basically a 2-week e-course, and Miss V Hawk is in the e-course.
And I am so happy to be a part of the telesummit e-course. It's fantastic. The lineup is absolutely fantastic. Tell us a little more about it.
Absolutely. So it is 14 days, or actually it'll probably end up being more like 15 days. 15 days, 15 different speakers, all speaking on nonprofit development, giving you everything you need to build your nonprofit from the ground up. It is called the Be More, Do More, Serve More Nonprofit Telesummit, and you can register at BeMoreLLC.com. It has a complete laid out course sequence guide where it's 4 different themes, 16 different recordings, 14 different speakers, all there to help to see you grow, to see you develop, and to prosper.
I love it. Yes, and I will be helping to promote. It starts when?
September 1st. is when the recordings begin to go out, and the recordings will be available for a limited time in the month of September. It's my birthday month. So what I like to do for my birthday month is I like to give away stuff. So this is my gift to you for my birthday. And you can actually register now. Registration is open now. You can visit the page, see who the speakers are, read their bios, look at the different topics that are lined up there. I'm just so excited and thrilled to share this with you, and so excited and thrilled that Miss V Hawk is going to be there, and she's also sharing her jewels, her wisdom with us.
Thank you for the opportunity to be a part of all of it. And thank you for joining us here today. On behalf of the BIZ Info Zone Show audience and myself as host, we have had some great information from Shabila Rashid, my girl S, and we've been in the strategy category of the BIZ Info Zone shows, where our mission and vision is to help you, the savvy social entrepreneur, to express your purpose, plan your next moves, and take your business and your life into prosperity. So whether you're a for-profit or a nonprofit organization, whether you're just starting your for-profit or just starting your nonprofit, you have gotten some major information out of this session today. I hope that you will look at this video over and over and over as long as it's available. At some point soon, it will become available in the BIZ Info Zone's membership area. And I just want to say thank you for joining us today. It's been my absolute pleasure to host you. Again, I'm V. Lynn Hawkins of Skyhawk Enterprises and Skyhawk Philanthropic Ventures, bringing you the weekly podcast show called the BIZ Info Zone Show. Till next time, which is tomorrow. So make sure you tune in tomorrow. We'll see you then. Bye.